The French Revolution. A comprehensive overview of the turning point in history. The French Revolution is a crucial moment in world history that transformed France and had lasting effects on Europe and beyond. It was a period of major social turbulence that began in 1787 and ended in 1799. It sought to completely change the relationship between the rulers and those they governed and to redefine the nature of political power. It proceeded in a back-and-forth process between revolutionary and reactionary forces. There were many reasons that lead to the French Revolution. Social, political, and economic conditions in pre-revolutionary France, including the monarchy, the Estates General, and the financial crisis. The bourgeoisie, merchants, manufacturers, professionals, had gained financial power but were excluded from political power. Those who were socially beneath them had very few rights, and most were also increasingly impoverished. The monarchy was no longer viewed as divinely ordained. When the king sought to increase the tax burden on the poor and expand it to classes that had previously been exempt, revolution became all but inevitable. The Estates General of 1789 was a meeting of the three estates of pre-revolutionary France: clergy, nobility, and commons. Summoned by King Louis XVI of France to deal with financial and societal crises, it ended with the Third Estate breaking from royal authority and forming a national assembly. It is generally considered the start of the French Revolution. First created in 1302 as an advisory body to King Philip IV of France, the Estates General had traditionally been consulted on fiscal policy and had presented the king with petitions and grievances from the estates. Although it had no legislative power of its own, its authority came from its role as the voice of the people. Yet the Estates General was not a sitting body and was only called intermittently at the king's will. As the French kings began to centralize power and pursue policies of absolute monarchy, the Estates General was convened less often. Upon the close of the 1614 meeting, it would not be called again until 1789, 175 years later. In the tumultuous years preceding the Revolution, an Estates General was seen as necessary to fix the imbalances within French society, particularly when it came to the Third Estate. As matters worsened in the 1780s, leading to conflict between the monarchy and the estates, Louis XVI eventually had no choice but to summon one, sealing the fate of his own monarchy and France itself. The storming of the Bastille was a decisive moment in the early months of the French Revolution. On the 14th of July 1789, the Bastille, a fortress and political prison symbolizing the oppressiveness of France's ancient regime, was attacked by a crowd mainly consisting of sans-culottes, or lower classes. The anniversary is still celebrated in France as the country's national holiday. The Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen, adopted by French National Assembly in August 1789, was a crucial document that marked the beginning of the French Revolution. It aimed to establish the basic principles of human rights and individual liberties that are universal and applicable to all citizens. The Declaration recognized the equality of all men and their natural rights to liberty, property, security, and resistance to oppression. The significance of this document lies in its lasting impact on the development of modern democracy and human rights movements. It inspired the creation of other important declarations and constitutions, including the Universal Declaration of Human Rights adopted by the United Nations in 1948. The role of women in the French Revolution was significant, particularly during the October 1789 March on Versailles. Women were actively involved in the revolution and played an important role in shaping its outcome. During the March on Versailles, a group of women marched to the palace to demand bread and other supplies for their families, who were suffering from food shortages. The march eventually led to the king and queen being forced to move to Paris, and the National Assembly being established there. Women also played a key role in other events during the revolution. They participated in political clubs, wrote pamphlets in newspapers, and even fought in battles. However, despite their contributions, women's rights were not significantly advanced during the revolution, and they continued to face significant inequality and discrimination. Overall, the role of women in the French Revolution was complex and multifaceted. While they made important contributions to the cause of liberty and equality, their struggles for full political and social rights would continue long after the revolution had ended. The French Revolution was marked by a period of escalating violence and radicalization, which ultimately led to the Reign of Terror. This period was marked by the execution of King Louis XVI and the rise of the Jacobins, who were a group of radical revolutionaries who believed in the use of extreme measures to achieve their goals. The Jacobins came to power following the fall of the Girondins, who were more moderate revolutionaries. Under the leadership of Maximilien Robespierre, the Jacobins established a revolutionary government aimed at purging France of its enemies and creating a new society based on equality and virtue. During this period, the National Convention, which was the governing body of France, declared a state of emergency and established the Committee of Public Safety, which was responsible for maintaining internal security and defending France against its enemies. The committee, under Robespierre's leadership, initiated the Reign of Terror, which involved the widespread use of executions, imprisonments, and other forms of violence against those deemed to be enemies of the revolution. The Reign of Terror lasted from 1793 to 1794 and saw the execution of thousands of people, including many prominent figures such as Marie Antoinette and Georges Danton. The period of terror eventually came to an end with the fall of Robespierre and the establishment of a more moderate government. Overall, the escalation of violence and radicalization during the French Revolution was a complex and chaotic period in French history. While it was driven by a desire for liberty and equality, the methods used to achieve these goals were often extreme and resulted in significant human suffering. The Reign of Terror lasted from 1793 to 1794 and saw the execution of thousands of people, including many prominent figures such as Marie Antoinette and Georges Danton. The period of terror eventually came to an end with the fall of Robespierre and the establishment of a more moderate government. Overall, the escalation of violence and radicalization during the French Revolution was a complex and chaotic period in French history. While it was driven by a desire for liberty and equality, the methods used to achieve these goals were often extreme and resulted in significant human suffering. Napoleon Bonaparte emerged as a key figure in the French Revolution following his military successes and political maneuvering. He rose to prominence during the Revolutionary Wars, leading several successful campaigns in Italy and Egypt. In 1799, he staged a coup d'état and established himself as the first consul of France, effectively becoming the country's leader. Napoleon's rule was marked by significant reforms and changes to the French government, including the establishment of a new legal system and the creation of a centralized bureaucracy. He also implemented measures to stabilize the economy and improve infrastructure throughout the country. Despite these accomplishments, Napoleon's reign was also marked by ongoing conflict and military expansion. He led France in a series of wars against other European powers, which ultimately led to his downfall. Following his defeat at the Battle of Waterloo in 1815, he was exiled to the island of St. Helena, where he died in 1821. Overall, Napoleon played a significant role in the French Revolution and subsequent period of turmoil in France. While his rule brought about several positive changes to the country, it was ultimately overshadowed by his aggressive foreign policy and eventual defeat. You have just watched a summary of the French Revolution, a comprehensive overview of the turning point in history. We hope you enjoy it and have learned something. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to share and subscribe for more upcoming videos of The People and Countries Unveiled, A Journey Around the World.